This is titled Navigating NSF, a roadmap for new proposals in Research.gov. I'm assuming that if you've gotten to this point, you are interested in or have experience in submitting with NSF, want to kind of get delved into Research.gov as a submission portal. And so this first slide that we've got here is just the Research.gov homepage. This is kind of the place that you just get started. And so when you first access this website, you're given a lot of words at you. The most important one that you're going to want to do is sign in or register, which you're given those tools there at the top. So on this homepage, if you've never had an account, you're going to need to hit that register button. But in this case, we're going to just assume that you have an account and just move forward as such. So what you're going to do is hit that sign in button. On this next page, like we said, we're assuming that you already have a Research.gov account. From this point, you're given several options to sign in, and this is going to be important depending on what entity under Texas A&M that you're going to be applying under. There's a lot of PIs out there that have multiple affiliations. They're associated with multiple organizations within the A&M system. For example, some of our PIs have both a TAMU standard affiliation as well as a TEAS engineering affiliation. Of course, there's also HSC and ag departments and many others. So from here, you're going to want to make sure that if you're signing in from your organization, that you're doing so under the correct one here. But we're going to go through the three options that you have to log in. And so on the very left here, you're given to just sign in with your NSF account. This is what I see most often, PIs choosing to use. As soon as you register, you're given an ID, an NSF ID number, as well as obviously there's an email address that they're going to ask for you to use that's associated with your account. And you're going to set up your password at that stage. So if that's the easiest way for you to sign in, then you're just going to either put your email address or ID number into the top slot and your password in the bottom. So then we have our second option, which is signing in with your organization. So once you pick your organization that you're going to be that you are affiliated with and that you're going to be applying under, from that drop down, just choose the right one and you'll be taken to your SSO option for sign on using your organization credentials. The last option there on the right is login.gov. And this is a secure sign-on service that's used for participating government agency websites. A lot of government agencies are using this now as their own SSO option. And so that's just one of the other options. I think ERA Commons also has this option, EBRAP, DoD. So this is just, if that's a better one-stop solution for you, you can choose to use login.gov. Once you're successfully logged in to Research.gov, you're going to be faced with a screen that's similar to the landing page when we first access Research.gov, but it's going to give you a lot more options specific to actions that you can take as a PI. Once you open Research.gov and you sign in, there are different tabs. And from the My Desktop page, there are the options to submit proposals, to view submitted proposals, to work on letters of intent, and so forth. In order to get to the spot where we need to prepare a new proposal, there will be an option, just like you see on the screen here, on your landing page under proposals, that's called Prepare New. Once you go into this option, it's going to give you several other options. You'll see that there's a little drop-down arrow on the right. Like it says, that blue information icon also has an inline help feature. So if you need help there, it'll give you some options and some information there. But it's pretty self-explanatory. Once you drop that down, you're going to be given several options. So some of those options include a letter of intent, a preliminary proposal, a full proposal, a renewal proposal, and different kinds of renewal proposals. In this example, we're just going to select full proposal because that's what we see most often. It depends on what you're applying to and what specifically that opportunity or that call invites you to initiate. It will be pretty clear in the RFP how to submit a proposal if it varies from the standard procedure. But standard procedure, if you're preparing a new full proposal, click that button, hit the drop down, and select full proposal. So it's important to also remember at this stage that only individuals with an organization-approved PI role can have this option to initiate a new proposal. This also includes renewals. At this point, if you don't have that option, that means that you have not been successfully affiliated with your TAMU system organization by your authorized organization representative. Those AORs, I'll call them from here on out, are SRS employees. Whoever your pre-award administrator is for your entity, you need to make sure that once you create an account that you let them know you need to be affiliated with that entity. And so they can do that on their side, and there's some information that you'll need to plug into your account. It'll prompt you to do so in an email when you're affiliated. But once that is successfully done, I think you have to put in your place of performance address and I think your work email address. But once that's done, you'll have the option here to prepare a new proposal. One other final important piece of information to remember at this point is you are starting the proposal and you will be giving AORs access to the proposal, but only an AOR is allowed to submit the proposal. And that's because Research.gov and NSF requires AORs, institution officials, to sign off on the proposal saying that we agree and everything is compliant. PIs don't have that delegation or authority in Research.gov. Adding the AOR to the proposal and having them be a part of every step is crucial here. Going on to the next step, we've selected prepare a new full proposal. And so you're going to be faced with a 4-step proposal setup wizard. NSF has made this as simple as possible to go ahead and set up your proposal. There's going to be some important information here as to how you get your proposal directed to the exact opportunity that you want to submit to and ensuring that it's set up as the right type of proposal that you'd like to submit. You'll see here at the top that there is a taskbar that is highlighting which step of the proposal startup wizard you're on. This first one is called funding opportunity, and you'll see that's number 1 in the grid there. Next is the where to apply, and then you select proposal type and then proposal details to finalize that. The first step is obviously selecting that funding opportunity that you wish to apply to. So you'll see here that we've got a screenshot of that first tab and how it usually looks. There is a search bar at the top of this area. You'll see right next to that show all dropdown. And so you can put keywords here to filter options, but be reminded that this is pulling all current funding opportunity numbers with NSF, that they don't know what you're applying to yet. You need to identify it here. You'll see that in this example, career has been typed, and it has brought down several funding opportunities with the word career in the title. If that helps you narrow it down, then by all means use that. More often, you want to find the funding opportunity number. Each FOA has a unique ID number attached to it. You'll see in these instances, it looks like one of these at the top that's selected is NSF. I think that's 22-583. I could be wrong about that, but they do all have a key number associated with each one. In that same box where you typed career, you could also easily type your number and find it that way. After you have selected the correct opportunity, you want to make sure that that radio button is highlighted under that select column, and you're going to click that next button to advance to the next stage. And please note at this stage, once you do complete all 4 of these steps in the proposal wizard, the proposal setup wizard, only a few things can be changed. Some things cannot be edited at this stage. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything to the best of your knowledge. Funding opportunity selected in this step cannot be edited. A few of the other options can, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Clicking next to get to the where to apply tab. This is the next step 2 in the wizard. And so you'll see here that it's pretty self-explanatory. You're saying, where do I want this proposal to go? Where is it going to be reviewed? Something specific to NSF that's kind of unique is directorates, divisions, programs that kind of fall under a hierarchy within the organization. And so typically certain funding opportunities will be restricted to certain directorates and divisions and programs. And once you select your funding opportunity that you wish to apply to, it will only give you the options here to select these options as applicable as NSF allows to be reviewed or directed to for that specific opportunity. It'll give you a drop down for 3 different options here. And at the top, you're going to see the directorate drop down. And that is most often you will see that that is only going to give you the option for 1 or maybe 2 directorates. It depends on who has put this funding opportunity out there. And sometimes there are general calls which can submit to multiple. Some you only have the option to submit to one of these. You just want to make sure that you read the RFP and you know where exactly this should go. Something else that this whole area can be considered or can be referred to is a unit of consideration. A lot of different other sponsors will have similar things. NIH kind of lets you assign or have assignment requests for different institutes and centers and study sections that you can direct your proposal for specific review to. And so this is NSF's version of that to their own degree, of course, but you can regard this as a unit of consideration. So moving down, like I said, there is that directorate drop-down menu, and then you need to select the division, which is under that. It's in the same way. It'll only give you a list of divisions that are applicable to this funding opportunity. And then select the program from under that. And in the same way, only the applicable ones will show. Once you do that, you need to click that Save Selection button that is, right now it's grayed on your screen, but that's because it's already been selected in this example. And what that'll do will go straight over to the right side of your screen where it says Saved Selections. In this example, we already have 2 different selections added. And you'll see that in that yellow highlighted box, there are some options that you can prioritize or delete these saved selections. If you added something unintentionally, feel free to hit that trash can and that'll remove that selection. However, if you want to add more, go back over to the left side and add your applicable information, hit that save button and it'll populate on the right. An important piece of information is those arrows that are under the Save Selections box. And so you're going to want to prioritize and place the selections in order of importance here. Keep in mind that adding multiple units of consideration means that you as the proposer is asking for co-review of the proposal by each unit of consideration listed here. Make sure that this is ordered correctly. If you have any questions specifically on where this should go, or if you think there's a certain area or unit of consideration that your proposal should apply to, you can reach out to your program officer at NSF under that funding opportunity, and they should be able to provide more information. That is pretty much all that we have under this where to apply situation. And so we are going to click into that next button at the bottom, and that is going to save our choices here and take us straight into the next screen, which is proposal type. So this is a pretty standard, simple form that you need to fill out. It just gives you one question, which is what kind of proposal are you submitting? You're going to want to click the appropriate radio button on the left under select proposal type, and it gives you lots of options like you see here. So there's research grants, there's planning, rapid, early, conference grants, equipment grants, travel grants. And so this will really come down to what does the RFP say? What kind of grant or program is this funding opportunity? 99% of the time, it's going to be research. That's where this is going to fall. There are other specific types like these rapid or eager programs, but that's going to be listed in most likely the RFP or at least the program page wherever you find this funding opportunity. If in doubt, research is usually a good one to pick. However, you're going to want to make sure that you're picking the right option here. And as you'll see, there's also direct hyperlinks next to many of these options. If you get to this point and you're not sure what to select, you can click into these, like it shows in the yellow boxes, these inline help features, and it will directly send you to a page or a portion of the PAPPG, which is NSF's proposal guidelines, to kind of walk you through the different proposal types and help you narrow down what is applicable. Once you are finished with this section, once again, you're going to click that next button at the bottom right, and you're going to be taken to the final step of the setup wizard. So step 4, this is the proposal's proposal details page. This is an important page, and I will emphasize that this is especially important for if any collaboration is involved on your proposal. This can be a touchy subject because collaboration is kind of a vague term, and NSF likes to use that term to identify different things. Let's kind of outline what that looks like. You'll notice here that you're given options for what kind of proposal are you submitting. It's going to say single proposal with or without a subaward, or separately submitted collaborative proposals. What does NSF mean by a collaborative proposal? Well, a collaborative proposal is one in which investigators from two or more organizations wish to collaborate on a unified research project. This most of the time does look like a subaward in some regard. So if there's going to be key personnel, senior personnel on the project from a entity or organization outside of Texas A&M, then that is usually a subaward. And especially NSF is a little bit different in this regard, where to any other federal agencies, at least to the best of my knowledge at the time being, these are subawards. It's unique to NSF that you can have separately submitted collaborative proposals without the option to do a subaward. By selecting that single proposal option, you're saying that it's either just going to be my proposal by itself and there's not going to be a subaward, or it's going to be my proposal with the addition of a subaward where we are going to take on the responsibility of uploading subrecipient documents and information, and it's all going to be housed under one proposal record within Research.gov. That second option, separately submitted collaborative proposals. This is where NSF has a unique ability to kind of traverse that or go around that subaward option. What this is whenever you do have a collaborative proposal with key personnel from multiple universities or institutions, you can actually each create a new proposal record on your own within Research.gov and just link those up. And there is going to be a lead and a non-lead, many non-leads, as many as you need, as many collaboratives as there will be, submitting their own proposal record through Research.gov for this submission. So we don't have the liability of inputting those subrecipient documents, their budget, their personnel information, any of that. You can link separate records to kind of go independently. And it basically just indicates that each organization would be requesting a separate award to be made on the same project. Some important information to remember here: if you do propose the top option, the single proposal, and you do have a subaward, please keep in mind that we do still need to charge IDC on the first $25,000 of each subaward. So it's prepared just like any normal subaward if you have experience with that. The other option is simultaneous submission from different organizations, and that's where you can click that second radio button separate under the collaborative proposal option. Once you do that, if you do select that second option, you're going to be given the option to select if you're going to be the lead or the non-lead of this project. So that comes down to if you would like your organization to take the helm on submitting most of the technical documents. I believe that's project summary, project narrative, references, any single copy documentation, of course, your own senior personnel documentation, or if you're going to be the non-lead, and that really comes down to just what's applicable to my institution as a collaborator. And that's just usually your facilities and equipment, your senior personnel documents, and your budget. Make sure that the proposal team, if there is the opportunity to have that collaborative option, you talk about who's going to be the lead versus non-lead and get that ironed out here. Finally, you'll get down to that bottom section, which is the proposal title. And from there, you can enter your proposal title if you have it. This can be placeholder text. So like I said, some things can be changed after you complete the wizard. This is one of those options. I know a lot of times this isn't finalized until closer to the culmination of the entire proposal. So put in placeholder, or if you have the final text, that'd be great here. You'll see it's limited to 180 characters. And once you have that ready to go, you can click that Prepare Proposal button. Once again, please note that no changes to the proposal setup wizard selections can be made after you click that Prepare Proposal button, except for edits to the proposal title. Anything that was entered wrong or needs to be changed, or things just aren't lining up the way they were whenever you create the proposal, that would have to probably be a deletion of the proposal and starting a new one. So you'll see here under those proposal actions, there is an option there that's delete proposal, but keep in mind that this can only be done by the PI. AORs cannot delete proposals. You'll notice here at the top, well, this is an example of if you were to create a collaborative proposal and you needed your temporary ID number to send to the lead organization to link your proposals, you'll see there that 5594 as an example. It does assign a temporary ID number to your proposal. And you just want to make sure to send that to your lead organization if you're the collaborative organization as a non-lead, so that they can successfully link your proposals and they are submitted as one single unit. So we've officially started a proposal, and we're going to keep working to get into the next realm of options here, which is just filling out the entire proposal, making sure that everyone applicable has the right access, and finally validations. To get started here, I'm actually going to flip back to this last page so that we can have an idea of where this is coming from. When you do create your proposal and finish the wizard, this is the page that you're given. You'll see there's lots of options and information, but this is your individual specific proposal record, and this is where all actions are taken. This highlighted piece under the proposal actions tab on the left-hand side of the page, it is a little blurry, but you can see it says share proposal with SPO/AOR. That is going to be a crucial action that you take, and hopefully the first action you take as soon as this is created. So what this next page is we clicked into that option. This is sharing access with basically SRS. You'll see that you're just given a quick glance at a screen here with different options. And this is, who am I going to share access to my proposal with? And please note that this SPO/AOR, that is your SRS proposal administrator. They should have the right affiliation in Research.gov with the correct submitting organization. Whenever you do share this with them, they should be able to access it. You'll notice here who the personnel type, the first column, who is being shared with, it's going to give you the SPO/AOR option, that's SRS. The proposal access, middle column, how much access do we want to give? We're going to ask that you always, please, in this instance, give edit access, which is shown here with that radio button. And there's a checkbox that pops up as soon as you click into that. And you want to make sure that this is checked. Allow proposal submission, AOR only. So like I said, PIs cannot have the ability to submit the proposal as institutional signatures are needed or approvals are needed in the submission process. And so if this isn't checked, you're going to have to go in and check it later, and the AOR will not be able to submit until you do so. As soon as that's clicked, the radio button is select, and that allow proposal submission is checked, you want to make sure to hit that save proposal access, and your SRS proposal administrator will get a ping and an email that access has been shared. We're diving back into the main page. This is kind of your home base for your proposal. At the top here, you'll notice that there's a lot of different information, and this is basically just an overview of what you selected during the proposal wizard, the setup wizard. So your title at the top there, you'll see that there's an edit button. So if you did enter placeholder text like we have here, click that edit button and you can replace the text, and click a save button to make sure that that is the correct title. I would advise that you look over these other information slots like funding opportunity, where it's being applied to, the proposal type, and so forth, just to make sure that these all line up with what you intended to select in the wizard. You can now work into the proposal sections options or fields, which are outlined in this table, if you will, kind of in the middle of the page here. You see that there's different columns: proposal sections, last updated, compliance key. This is just where links to click into different document upload fields or information upload fields. And these other two, last updated column and compliance status, are rolling validation options that Research.gov has to make sure that everything is compliant and you can see when it was updated last, since there are usually multiple people working on the proposal. At this point, most of these sections require a PDF document to be uploaded, and the PI has access to work on any of these sections, but please keep in mind that SRS is the one that will be inputting your budget, because we are the ones that work up the internal documents, and we want to make sure that it matches, because there's a very specific way that NSF requires a budget to be inputted. All of these fields can be clicked into, and you can definitely click into the budget section, but note that the SRS will be the ones uploading. Please keep in mind that you are required to abide by NSF's documentation format requirements, and those can be found in the PAPPG as well. For most, 99% of these, NSF will require all documents to be in PDF format, and SRS will not convert documents to PDF. So please send them to your, if you're sending them to your SRS administrator for uploading, then please send them in their final format. Otherwise, if you're uploading on your own, please make sure that these are uploaded in PDF form if that's what's required. As far as what is required, which of these fields need information uploaded, all I can say is read the RFP, read the RFP, read the RFP. It will give you information on what is required or if just standard PAPPG guidelines should be followed. So let's dive into some of these sections. What we're actually going to start with is over here on your proposal actions toolbar on the left side of the screen. We're going to check out that manage personnel and subaward organizations box. This is assuming that you need to add other, well, let me rephrase, that you need to add co-PIs or other senior personnel to your proposal, or you would like to add authorized users that have access to view and or edit your proposal that are not your AOR SPO administrator. At this point, you want to make sure that you've got your project team ironed out, and if basically NSF requires co-PIs and senior personnel to be inputted by name, and that means they have to have an NSF account so that they can be linked to this specific proposal and have access to it. Once they have an NSF account that's valid and affiliated with the right organization, you can add them using these buttons. If you're adding a co-principal investigator, a co-PI, click that button and it will give you the option to do so. You need to either input their NSF ID or the email that they used on their NSF account to add them by name. The same goes for other senior personnel. Please note here the difference between NSF's wording for senior personnel. There is a difference between other senior personnel and just other personnel. So the people added to this section should only be your senior personnel, which NSF generally, with an asterisk there for generally, NSF just allows senior personnel to be principal investigators, co-principal investigators, or faculty associates. So it depends on your proposal, depends on your project and your project team, but making sure that if an individual is going to actually be senior personnel in the project, that you're adding them at this stage. Finally, there is an option here at the bottom, add other authorized user. If you have a department level administrator or a colleague or really anyone that you would like to add that has an NSF account, I should say, as an authorized user to view and edit portions of the application, you can add them by name here. This is not adding them to the proposal as a member of the project or the project team. Rather, this is just an authorized user to come in and do things on your behalf. We are going to dive into the next section here. Those proposal sections back in that middle of the page that we were looking at earlier, we're going to go one by one and kind of take a look at these. And there's kind of a general formula that you can follow here for uploading most, if not all, NSF proposals. The project summary is a standard document that NSF requires. This is really cool, this area, as opposed to Fastlane, which they've done in the past. This actually gives you information on your document and requirements and formatting information right here on the page. You can kind of review these. Of course, like it says right here, make sure that you're referring to the PAPPG for margin, spacing, font type, size requirements. You want to make sure, NSF has pretty standard and strict formatting guidelines. So like your Arial 10-point single spaced default documents, making sure that the 6 lines per vertical inch of spacing is followed. There are some other fonts that they allow that you need to make sure you're looking at. If it's a computer modern family, or I think they have a different sizing requirement for Times New Roman. All that is covered in the PAPPG. Make sure that you're looking at that to follow those requirements. Let's see here. So the project summary must include 3 separate section headers. Those are going to be overview, intellectual merit, and broader impacts. And to be valid, a heading must be on its own line with no other text on that line. These 3 sections have to be listed clearly with their own individual header with no other text on that line for this one-page document. There are examples and samples out there if you Google search or talk to colleagues on how this should be, but the system here can recognize if that is listed in the right way and follows those formatting requirements. If it doesn't, once you hit that browse and upload your document, if it's not following those guidelines, it will give you an error and ask you to revise and re-upload. However, it tends to be historically pretty vague with its error validation in some regards. And depending on what you're uploading and where and the error it's giving you, it might just tell you that there's something wrong with it. It really comes down to making sure that you understand the requirements for that formatting. And once you upload those, you should be good on getting no errors. Please note that it is included in the PAPPG and elsewhere as far as NSF formatting requirements go. None of your documents should contain page numbers. That is because whenever this is compiled into one document, Research.gov applies page numbers to the proposal as a whole, rather than each individual document being paginated to its own degree. If you were to add any kind of numbers and somehow the system allowed you to do so, they would be stamped over. Once this is submitted, leads to unfavorable review in that regard. One thing to note at this stage, this is a screenshot from an actual proposal draft that was being worked. You have a toolbar here on the left that you can navigate between documents and fields and forms. What we've done here is we've gone down the list and we went from project summary to the next one, which is project description. This is a very important document. This is the chunk of your research strategy, your research plan. This is usually a 15-page document. It cannot exceed 15 pages and follows the same formatting requirements as the project summary. Read the solicitation here to make sure that any requirements or guidelines don't deviate from the standard PAPPG guidelines. But in general, there's pretty strict guidelines on how this should be formatted and what sections should be included in this document. You'll notice as one of those bullet points says your file must include a separate section header for broader impacts to be valid. Again, this must be on its own line as a header with no other text on that line, making sure that you follow some of these formatting requirements because it does do that rolling validation whenever you update or whenever you upload the document as well. So one other one to remember there at the bottom, it shows hyperlinks or URLs must not be used in the project description. Again, this must be in PDF format and should not contain page numbers. And there's more information in the PAPPG and likely your solicitation that can lead you to what exactly is required for this document per funding opportunity. Going down the list, next we're going to be at our references cited upload fields. This is a pretty standard document across the board for federal submissions. This is usually required. The only thing to consider is, again, those NSF formatting guidelines. Notice here, you want to avoid the use of those certain terms, except for large consortia papers. It says follow accepted scholarly practices and providing citations for source materials. So there is some leeway here for how things are listed. If there's any questions here, I would recommend talking to a colleague, your department head. If there's any actual formatting questions, reach out to SRS or your program officer if there's any specific questions on that. Again, please upload this as a PDF and should not contain page numbers. We went down our list on the left, and the next section that you'll encounter is the budget. So again, this should be entered by the SRS proposal administrator that is assigned to your department or your proposal. We will take care of entering the budget and making sure that it lines up with your specific project. So that looks like adding different durations of the project. It could be 1 to 5 generally, and we make sure that that adds up, as well as all of the specific costs. They are compliant with our internal budget policies and procedures, as well as entering that indirect cost field at the bottom. So if you have any questions on this, you're always able to access and look at it. It is advised that if you're working with your proposal administrator, that you don't edit this while they're trying to work on it, especially after routing or internal approvals have taken place, as this would change things. We try our best to make sure that we go in multiple times throughout this proposal preparation and submission process to make sure that this aligns with the internal budget and that nothing has changed. But with multiple hands in the pot on these types of proposals, just best practice to view and let SRS do the touching. The next area that you'll come to is the budget justification. This specific document cannot exceed 5 pages. Follows a lot of the same formatting requirements as the other documents do. So make sure that you're following those. Again, no page numbers, and it should be in PDF form. If your proposal does have a subaward, once you click into this budget justification area, it will give you the option to upload a document for the lead organization, being yourself, and an option for the subrecipient organization, whoever that may be. So it may look a little bit different than this page if there are subrecipients, but it's pretty self-explanatory in which organization you are uploading documents for. All right, next we find facilities, equipment, and other resources. If you have any questions regarding the actual requirements of the content here, please reference the PAPPG, as this is a standard NSF document, as well as use your department resources, as a lot of times colleagues and department heads have a lot of information from previous or other current NSF proposals that share a lot of the facilities, equipment, and other resources information that yours might. However, you're going to want to make sure that this is narrative in nature and includes internal and external resources, both physical and personal, and that the organization itself and collaborators and subawardees all include information that is pertinent to the project. If they have their own facilities, equipment, and other resources that are pertinent to the project, that information is also going to need to be listed here. Section not include quantifiable financial information, though. It must be in PDF format and not contain page numbers. Moving on to the next section. This is a very important and different section, so it's important to kind of understand how this works. On this specific example that we've got on your screen here, we have David Hollingsworth listed as the principal investigator. He was the one that started the proposal, and so he is listed as the PI here. If there was other people back when we clicked that Manage Personnel and Subaward Organizations tab, if there are other individuals identified as co-PIs or other senior personnel or a subaward senior personnel, when you add them to that screen, it's automatically going to give them a area here. You'll notice that there's a little minus icon next to David's name. You can expand or collapse this section. When you collapse it and hit that minus button, it'll just show everyone's name listed. And to add specific documents, you're going to want to make sure to expand that. It'll be a plus icon when everyone's collapsed, and that will give you these document upload fields. So NSF requires 3 different documents for all senior personnel, and that's going to be your bio sketch, your current and pending support, and your collaborators and other affiliations. It's important to remember that most federal sponsors have their own requirements for completing and formatting these documents, and especially NSF throughout the years has had very strict and specific, ever-changing rules and requirements for these documents. So making sure that you're up to date with what is the most current information is crucial here, as outdated information most of the time either leads to unfavorable review or at some point will require administrative action because NSF would reach out and require the PI to submit updated information if it's found that this is out of date. Let's go through these options. The first one we're going to click into, that link to the biographical sketch. As mentioned, a bio sketch must be provided separately for each individual designated as senior personnel. This section of the proposal is used to assess how well qualified the individual, team, or organization is to conduct the proposed activities. Something important to note here is NSF has started you'll notice here at the top, it says that you must prepare bio sketches using Science CV. And Science CV is a program that is kind of getting more onboarded by federal agencies as a one-stop shop for creating bio sketches and current and pending support, as well as other things where you can enter your information on an ongoing basis and it stores it, and you can automatically output specific documents that are catered to the NSF, the NIH, DoD, whatever it may be, guidelines that it fits those specific criteria. So the use of Science CV, NSF's requirement at this time being, once you start a proposal, I would recommend at that stage or even earlier logging into Science CV and making an account to get that started. So you notice that on this page, it does give you an external link to Science CV. If you have any questions or don't know how to get to it, you can easily just click that link. As well as at the top right of this page, there's that box that says biographical sketches, PAPPG, which gives you a link directly to the NSF specific guidelines for the bio sketch. You'll notice a second bullet point down says this file cannot exceed 3 pages. Just like I said, one of the nuances of these federal sponsors and NSF specifically is ever-changing guidelines and requirements. So while at this very moment, a 3-page limit is enforced for these documents, effective in May, a new PAPPG is going into effect that I think removes this page requirement altogether. At that point in time, things will change. But for the time being, I would advise to always follow the guidelines that are listed in this page specifically. So you'll notice only one file can be uploaded. It should always be in PDF file format, which is what Science CV gives you, and should not contain page numbers that you add yourself. Once that's added, you can go back to the Senior Personnel Documents homepage, and under that specific person, you'll notice here, just for this example, we're still under David Hollingsworth. Click into their name, click into Current and Pending Support, and you'll get to this upload field. Really, all of the requirements here are the exact same as BioSketch because Science CV is required. It's an entirely different document, and you want to make sure that you're following all the rules and guidelines that are required for this document. And so there is that link to the PAPPG guidelines to the right here, upper right again, but Science CV should lead you on the right track here. One important thing that I'll note is that you will always need to list this current proposal that you're working on as pending support. And that's across the board, but it usually goes as an oversight, as it doesn't seem like this is pending yet, but at the time that this is submitted, it is currently pending. So that's an important one to remember. That last senior personnel document that's required is going to be your COA, or collaborators and other affiliations document. And this is different than the other two, as it is not a Science CV document. It's actually an Excel document. So you'll see at the top here in that blue text, it gives you an external link. You can follow this to go to NSF's specific page where you can download the Excel document that is going to be required for this section. So it is an Excel document. You'll need to keep this in its exact format and just enter the information as applicable to the Excel document. And this is the only place in the application, as far as standard proposals are concerned, that you don't upload a PDF. You'll notice in that bottom section, that step 2 bullet points, that middle one says accepted file types include an Excel file. So you're going to need to upload that Excel template file, and should not contain page numbers or anything, but it's not a standard PDF. So it's a little bit different than the other two, but there is a template, and just follow that link. Okay, we're moving on to the next section, which is the data management plan. It should be a document of no more than 2 pages. And this is in the supplementary documentation area of Research.gov. So this supplementary document should describe how the proposal will conform to the NSF policies on dissemination and sharing of research results. Normal formatting requirements are applied here, no page numbers, and should be PDF. Next is the postdoctoral mentoring plan. Really, this is just going to be needed if you are including a postdoc on your research. If there's a postdoc on your budget, on your research, in that capacity as performing research duties on the project, you will need to upload this. This basically just is a one-page document. It should be no more than one page, and it describes mentoring that will be provided to all postdoctoral researchers supported by the project, regardless of if they reside at the submitting organization, at a subrecipient organization, or any organization participating simultaneously in a collaborative proposal. This is an important one, and the mentoring activities provided to postdoctoral researchers supported on the project will be evaluated under the broader impacts review criteria. Our next section here is additional single copy documents. So anything in this section, you'll notice that it is a little bit offset from the rest of the proposal. And that's because certain categories of information that are submitted in conjunction with a proposal are for NSF use only. So the information that is provided here is not provided to reviewers, but rather NSF staff. And so this is going to be important if you'd like to upload any documentation that could include a list of suggested reviewers, if you would like to do that, which would need to include their email addresses and organizational affiliation. If you believe that they're especially well qualified to review your specific proposal, that's where you would upload this document, as well as the opportunity to designate individuals that they would prefer not to review their proposal. That would go as a separate document as well. These suggestions are optional, and multiple files can be uploaded in this section. There is only that one browse field, as you'll see on this example. However, once you add one document, unlike the other sections where one document is permitted and that browse option goes away, this will give you the opportunity to browse again and select multiple documents as applicable. Please make sure you're following the same normal formatting requirements, and it should be in PDF file format with no page numbers. Okay, so we've finally gotten through all of the standard document upload fields, and what we've gotten to is the validation. This is an important part that I would suggest always using throughout the proposal process. And so this is actually up at the top of your left toolbar, and we've been going down the list, but now we're back up above managed personnel and subordinate organizations where it says check errors and warnings. When you click into this section, anytime during the proposal preparation process, you can see real-time errors and warnings. And as sections are completed and documents are created and uploaded, as according to the NSF guidelines, the number of errors and warnings should go down in number. So this should always be checked, obviously, before submitting your proposal, but really this should be checked ongoing as you make sure that everything is accounted for, or if you don't know what exactly you need still, if you're having trouble identifying a certain area, this can help you identify where exactly something needs to be revised, uploaded, edited, and so forth. Once your proposal is ready for submission and it has no errors and warnings at this stage, that's when you inform your SRS proposal administrator, as they're the ones who have the authorization to submit the actual proposal. And at that point, you're pretty much set on the actual formatting and uploading and filling out of your entire proposal. So there are some helpful resources about the preparation and submission process as they relate specifically to Research.gov and NSF's policies and procedures. Next, proposal preparation FAQs. So that's what I was saying, this link at the top of the page would lead you to. And there's a lot of frequently asked questions and answers that NSF has made available that just kind of outline different stages of the proposal preparation process. They also offer video tutorials. Videos demonstrating key proposal preparation steps are available on the Research.gov website. There is a video tutorial section that you can search for. And then lastly, I highly advise reaching out to the NSF help desk if there's any IT related questions. you can see their number here, and they are always very willing and able to help you in those needs. So that's the end of the presentation.